Movie critic Jeremy Heilman saw The Incredibles, and you are not gonna believe this review. I don't even know how to open this. What's up, you guys? If it's your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell right next to it. Also, if you like the video, hit the like button, because then we know. Now let's take a look at this stupid critic's review. Pixar, the golden boy animators of the moment, return this season with The Incredibles, another entry in their series of dubious crowd pleasers. So far, so good. I'm looking forward to what's coming next. Nothing can go wrong now. It follows the tired formula as their past films. I was wrong. It immediately went bad. It's like someone's making a pizza, and they put the dough, and then the sauce, and then the cheese, and then a chocolate cake, and you're like, this is gonna be delicious. To follow up their tales of domesticated fish, domesticated monsters, domesticated insects, and domesticated toys, they now present domesticated superheroes. Yes. The plot this time out is as conventional as in any of the past Pixar films, borrowing liberally from the Spy Kids franchise, Alan Moore's Watchmen comics, and James Cameron's far superior True Lies. I don't disagree about the borrowing, but far superior True Lies? Weird. I'll admit, that's a fun-ass movie, but weird. The imagery, usually the highlight of these things, calls to mind this year's wondrous Sky Captain and the World Tomorrow, but minus a soul, or exactly different. They don't look at all alike. How would you compare those? You wouldn't. That's how you would compare those. You wouldn't do it. It has to be said that CGI spectacle is less the order of the day here than it has been in past Pixar films. Thankfully, after a while comes the realization that real water is more impressive to watch than any that is fabricated. You're just telling me to go outside? Mom? And yes, something created by God if you believe in God, science if you believe in science, or both if you're just, you know, not taking sides, is probably more impressive than water in this movie. Additionally, the voice acting is more restrained than the non-stop yelling that has marred several of the studio's past efforts, but something's still rotten here, rendering The Incredibles as the least of the animation house's efforts by far. You just wanted them screaming all the time? It doesn't fit the movie for them to be screaming all the time. Like the girl who sheepishly doesn't want to talk to the boy, so she like turns invisible. If she was like, I like him, but I really don't want to talk to him, so I'm gonna turn invisible. It's not gonna work. I mean, maybe it will, actually. There are certain people who can't be invisible. Gilbert Gottfried is one of them. Fran Drescher is another. Kathy Griffin. Or Cher. Not because she's loud, just her outfits are. And there's like 100 of them. There's no way that bitch would be willing to go invisible. It's like, they can't see what I'm wearing. I can't do a Cher impression. I just know she does weird things with her teeth and tongue. That's not what I meant. At first, while watching The Incredibles, I was frustrated by its seemingly short-sighted lack of superheroes outside of its American borders. You were? Why? It doesn't take place there. Just like leave the movie to appease you? Is that what we're doing? You just set a movie in Detroit and you're like, you know, I was really upset that we didn't see enough of Paraguay. No, you saw Detroit. That's where it takes place. What is wrong with you? Only as the film developed did the omission reveal itself as an intentional one. Oh, so there was a reason, and you're still not okay with it? That's really weird. It's not like someone broke up with you and didn't have a good reason why, and they're like, I don't know why, I just need to do this for me. Like, they had a reason. It's like, you punched me in the face too much. It's like, oh yeah, you probably should break up with me. All the punching. Director Brad Bird, whose Cold War-era Iron Giant, which carried a very political message of anti-violence, is clearly aiming this film at an America-centric post-9/11 world. Just anything anti-violence? You can do that about anything that comes after anything. That romance movie about when they wanted to wait until they got married to have sex came really, really weirdly after the AIDS epidemic. Now it's just a fucking movie. Timing has nothing to do with it. This is not agenda. It's Pixar. Strong, irresponsible imagery evokes the horrors of those attacks repeatedly. Does it? Like, which part? Was it when the lady stretches? Was it then? It's a superhero movie. Like, what are you talking about? There are sequences showing a mother shielding her children from pillars of fire from above and exploding plane debris, because that's what would happen when there's superheroes and villains, and that's what would happen. I don't know how to... You could make anything of anything. I mean, I guess, you know, kudos to you for putting your mind to it. There's an extended shot of a plane flying into the southern tip of Manhattan Island. There's the constant reminder that the events in the film are about to end 15 years of peace. That's sort of a... I don't want to read this anymore. I thought we were going to get a nice, pleasant review of Pixar's The Incredibles. Not necessarily pleasant, I just didn't think we were going to bring, like, terrorism into this. That sort of association is dangerous when mishandled, and The Incredibles makes huge miscalculations in showing how these events affect its central characters. It could be because they were superheroes. And superheroes deal with tragic, explosive, crazy stuff all the time. Prior to them retiring, this was probably commonplace. Like, if you're Superman, you don't go, holy shit, every time you fly. Because you fly all the time. The first time, you're like, holy shit, I'm flying. Maybe the second or third, you're like, I can't believe it, this is the greatest. By the fourth, you're like, looks like I can fly. The superpowered Parr family responds to threats on its family unit with bloodthirsty vigilante retaliation. Wait, what? The main characters? Like, they're talking about them? Yeah. I would never describe The Incredibles family as bloodthirsty. Wow. Especially because they're all kind of adorable. The only one that becomes kind of bloodthirsty is the baby at the end. That's so strange. Oh. A supposedly exhilarating scene features a young boy and girl harnessing their superpowers to kill humans, not robots as is the norm in the genre, in a series of Bruckheimer-esque explosions. They're learning to use their superpowers. So they learn to use their powers defending themselves from bad guys who have guns and are trying to kill them. You're treating this like Elmo showed up on this island and just started clawing at people's faces, laughing maniacally like, ah, ha, 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 ah, ha, ha, bloodthirsty Elmo, ha, 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 ha. No film, live action or animated that I can recall features children murdering so cavalierly. Okay, now you just shouldn't review movies ever. There's so many movies where that happens. Like, a lot of them. There's like entire genres of movies where that happens. That's just dumb. This sequence culminates in a team kill from mom and dad, followed by a mutual declaration of love. Yeah, they all do a final, we stopped the bad guys, and then they're like, we love you, we found each other, everybody's got their superpowers, now let's go beat this bad guy and save the world. Like, that's pretty appropriate for what's going on in the movie. I agree that if Pixar like filmed a scene where this family's standing over the bloody corpses of other families that did nothing wrong, just hugging each other, being like, I love you, Dad, me too, son. Yeah, that would be fucked up. Not what happened. The effect is appalling, and the message is made clear. The family that the family that slays together, stays together. Spell that differently and you're talking about Santa. There are no scenes in which characters learn to use their powers responsibly, except for those that extol conformity, and no moments in which loss of life is felt. I don't know if you're talking about the villains that they killed, because we don't know if they're dead, or just people who got hurt or killed during all the chaos of them saving the world, but I feel like they don't really have time to mourn. Trying to defeat some like psycho evil genius. I feel like you don't have like, let's take a moment and think about the lives that have been lost while he kills more people. And then you have to go over there and be like, well, let's take a moment and think about the lives that we've lost. And he's killing people over here and you have to go back. Nothing will get done. This summer's Spider-Man 2 may have been preachy, but at least it had a conscience. No destruction in that movie. In New York. The whole thing takes place in New York, and so much shit gets destroyed. If Bird's intent is to demonstrate the sanctity of the family unit in a world filled with danger by empowering his characters in this way, he's corrupting the very values that the family unit stands for. If this is the modern didn't you just say a bit preachy? Like 2 seconds ago, like it was a bad thing? Maybe you should shut the fuck up. Jesus. At first glance, you might wonder why The Incredibles was an animated film at all, but that's probably because its carnage and insane politics wouldn't be comic in live action. Once again, I feel like you should have to watch movies to review movies. There's so many movies that have the same kind of politics and violence that aren't animated. I would say that the reason this movie was animated is because Pixar made it. How the actions of the Parr family are supposed to translate into commentary on the post-9/11 world that The Incredibles invokes is beyond me. Well, yeah, it is beyond you, because no one else was thinking that. Also, I feel like nothing is beyond you, because the jump you made from The Incredibles to 9/11 is pretty f***ing far. Shirley Bird, who preached pacifism in his last film, can't be advocating such outright violence and vengeance, especially when a Bush-like bad guy is looked at critically for trying to spin a city's tragedy into personal gain. Its attempts to be politically relevant are hopelessly muddled at best and offensive at worst. Again, you're making a really weird correlation. You could have easily just said, he was doing something villainous. Whether or not you want to make it seem like it relates to someone else's villainism, if that's a word, isn't the point, because you can do that with literally anything. Clearly, the Monsters in Monsters, Inc. scaring the children is a parallel to when Paul Rubens or Pee Wee Herman was jerking off in a movie theater. See, I could also say words in a sentence structure. Bird's sloppy obliviousness to the imagery that he employs is worse than outright propaganda because it has no purpose other than to exploit real-life tragedy to sell inane fantasy to us. I'm just gonna say, this was about superheroes, and there was a period of time in comic books when Superman punched Hitler. Watching this confused film in an audience filled with people who were clearly relishing every terror the film threw at them, I started to be filled with self-doubt, but each further explosion only further cemented my impression that the film was playing with a fire that soon flared out of control. Oh, so poetic. Describing watching The Incredibles as just terror being thrown at you is the weirdest thing. Oh, that's so strange. I'm just picturing you in the back of the theater while the movie's playing, just going, the horror, the horror. Its scenes of HMO headaches and unchecked litigation clearly relate it to the real world. And a lot of things relate it to the real world, like people, hair. We have that. Some of us more than others. Robin Williams, I'm looking at me. Since there's not much indication that the slightly fascist family is being satirized, and since it's too much a crowd pleaser to be critical of the violent payoff that it delivers, it's tough not to take its apparent message seriously. It is? I feel like it's tough to find the shit you found in this. That's amazing. That's more amazing than finding that fucking necklace at the end of Titanic. That's like finding a blonde Asian with a nice ass. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell right next to it. Also, if you liked the video, prove it by hitting the like button. If you want to see another video from us, click one of the ones on the screen, and until we see you next time, geek out and game on.